This Falcons project has already started as a failure, and it will forever be a failure throughout its lifetime. There's no redemption arc coming for Falcons.
Okay.
Are you insane?
Right, we're back for Hot Take Point Made. I will say, we are filming this the day Falcons got eliminated in the final of CAC, so who knows if that will come into play. I can't imagine Falcons failing could in any way inspire a hot take. Anyway, Maui, what hot take would you like to start the show with?
All right, we're going to we usually don't like doing takes that go indefinitely, but I have a feeling it will be a shorter time frame than people may expect for this one, okay?
Okay.
This Falcons project has already started as a failure, and it will forever be a failure throughout its lifetime. It will forever be a failure throughout its lifetime. I don't see it. There's no redemption arc coming for Falcons. Because, and I'll say why it's a failure already, okay? Per expectation, I saw Thorin, you were doing some defense. You were running a defense here for the Falcons lightly on their opening tournaments, but I'll just point it out. On your Astana preview on your YouTube, you had them winning the event. I think, and of the analysts going into the playoffs, Bled thought that they were going to win the event. Then going into CAC, they're the first team you mentioned in your preview going in that were going to win the event. They did not win the event. That already, to me, can be considered a failure. I would say, maybe if you want to be more generous to them, you can say for sure that Astana was never really theirs to win when Spirit were powering up in this way, when a couple other teams actually looked okay. Like Furia probably, in some ways, is maybe even more of a failure for Furia. But that being said, CAC is without a doubt for me a massive failure. The way that they're able to win map 1 probably could have won Ancient as well if NiKo was able to kill Lato in the side in Cave. All of that, but I'm even going further here. Not only have they started a failure, which anybody could tell you, it's that I think that they will stay a failure till Falcons as an organization dissolves. Because looking at Live Golf, how the public investment fund has already pulled out of that, I expect that the public investment fund will probably pull out of esports as well. I don't think that they're going to actually last here. As we know, ESL's just been burning money for a long time. They've been in the red for practically its entirety as an organization. And if you're already trying to find ways through the investment fund to get your money back, get your dollar back, I mean, that was also the argument at the beginning. It's just that like Falcons and the investment fund, they are a business at the end of the day. They're trying to find ways to recoup on their investments in different fields. And I do not see that as a worthwhile investment for them. They're handing out.
So put it this way, to you, the difference is the ultimate superpower of we can just sign another superstar. You think that'll go away in time?
I don't even think that. I think that the org will actually pull out of
okay. Okay, that's
I don't think you can. All right. I don't think you can justify going for this anymore with how the esports World Cup, for example, hands out hand over fist just boatloads of cash to all of these teams that barely make sense to even have rosters. Like if you go down the esports World Cup, there's no way that they're making profits off of some of these games that they're going for. I'm not even talking about the mobile games. I mean, even just some of the other esports that they're running for right there. And the fact that we also already know that ESL for quite some time has been not a profit driver by any metric. So other TOs have figured out ways to make profits through different means. I mean, Blast and PGL have their own ways, but I just don't think that this Falcons project is going to last as long as people think it's going to. And I don't think that they're going to last long enough for them to actually win meaningful trophies, or let alone have an era, which is probably the only way that you can justify all of this expenditure that Falcons has had. By the end of Falcons existing in Counter-Strike, they will be perceived as the greatest failure in all of Counter-Strike.
In all of history. There is a saying, I don't know if there is a saying in English, but in Serbian it's like from your mouth to God's ears.
Yeah. You have the same thing,
it's a thing like from Mauisnake, what he said needs to happen as soon as possible. Right now, I think that the potion of delusion they drank just before they make a decision, to bring in karrigan is starting to dissolve. It's starting to, wear off. Like, people, obviously, I'm not saying about karrigan because he had to take the call. Why not? I mean, he didn't qualify with FaZe. He had a terrible year and a half, whatever. got the bag, took it. Why not? I would take it.
By the way, one thing that's quite cool is there was even recently an interview where Frozen basically said something similar. He was sort of like, wouldn't we have all taken the offer if we'd have got it too? Which is kind of a more reasonable take in it, yeah, of course.
So there is no blame on him at all.
No.
The blame is on everyone who decided that would be a good idea. Any delusional person in that room sitting and saying, like, listen, we should kick our existing IGL that we practiced for the past 4, 6, 8 months and more, and then we publicly said, listen, this is a team that stays, it needs time, blah blah whatever, going into the biggest event, most important event for them so far, where they are in a stage 3 and they decided, somebody in that room decided and somebody else supported the decision to bring in a new IGL and start playing these events one after another. Yeah, okay, the people got sprayed by this another potion of delusion, like a perfume of delusion, when they reach the finals of Astana and this Asian championship, but it means literally nothing, because you see, you lost to this Legacy, you lost to 9Z, you lost to like all these teams, and the teams that you beat are not very good as well. For me, that shows that they have zero chance in accomplishing anything on the major and this year as well. Look at the map pool. Like, do you think that they have right now, the map pool of Falcons?
Yeah.
Right? Do you think they have any map they can compete against any of the best teams? Do they have a signature map? If you take Spirit, they have their Dust 2, right?
Sure.
19 and whatever, right? Then you have Vitality with Dust 2 again, 23 and 1. You have Navi with Ancient, Vitality again with Overpass, Furia as well with some of the maps. They have problems on other maps when they reach the stage 3 of the major, which is the only positive thing for them, because they're going to skip 2 stages, but they're going to have to play best of 3s there. If they run into a decent team that plays Overpass and Anubis, what are they going to do? They're going to just lose that best of 3. If they commit to practice tomorrow, the day is 24th of May, they're going to come home tomorrow, 25th, 26th, they start playing immediately, 27th. They're going to have, 10 days to prepare for the event? Is that enough to prepare anything? To compete against teams like Spirit, Vitality, Navi that are in form now, you can't beat in a best of 5 team like Legacy. And that's simply because you made this delusional change. If they stayed with the same lineup till the end of the season, they would win this Asian championship. They would probably have a decent chance in that final in Astana against Spirit. For me, like, this is, like I said, the potion of delusion in that organization is wearing off, and I would like to see them completely back out of CS, but I'm sure some casino will come in and buy them and spend again $75 million thinking NiKo is the guy and Zonic is the guy, and like all these people that are fucking washed and can't shoot people in the back are the shit, and they should be paid so much money, when in fact you have players like Lato or they lost to Art, for fuck's sake, but players like Lato and all these are just, dominating them on the server. If you look at the score in the final, it was 3-9, 3-9, and 4-8 halves. On the maps they lost. The maps they won, it was 6-6 and then 13-11. Yeah, maybe they could have won that Asian, but, if would, like, well, I'm not going to go into that, that kind of imaginary scenarios. We know what happened. Again, for me, this team shouldn't be in the playoffs of the major. It should be disbanded immediately.
All right, you've done your own mini hot take. They're not going to make the playoffs of the major, right?
Yeah, it should be disbanded immediately.
No, is that a fair hot take?
I mean, it's a fair hot take, yeah. But
they're not going to make playoffs of the major? No, we're just throwing it in there. A free
just throw it in there just for the spice of it.
Okay.
But the thing is, like, I'm not sure what Maui said when he said somebody pulled out of something.
The LIV, the golf, the live, it was like a $50 billion golf league that the public investment fund ran to just try to compete against the PGA Tour, which is now practically fallen apart.
Put it this way, in general, they've basically said that they're halting a lot of the investments into a lot of different areas, and they're not just going like all out. Like, it seems like now, like Maui says, they're trying to make it like they're basically, as far as I can tell, what they're doing, which is what Maui's saying is they're looking at the things they did invest in, and it looks like on some of them they're like, actually, this is a waste of time. Skip that. So I'll give you an example, Kassad. I imagine they're going to keep investing. Oh wait, there a second. I imagine they're going to keep investing in like Newcastle Football Club, for example, because football's really successful. But in things like golf, and I imagine, I agree with Maui, surely esports is even worse, they're probably realising now, either, like with EWC, why don't we only sponsor EWC and stop sponsoring all the other shit like Falcons or an ESL? Why don't we sell off those companies, basically? Or maybe, like he says, maybe there's a lot of esports in Thailand, they're just in boxing and whatever it is, fucking football and things like that, which is a plausible scenario, yeah.
So basically, they threw a lot of shit.
Actually, they were just trying everything. Initially, they invested in everything. Yes.
Whatever it didn't, they just drop. And dropping CS and esports, CS mainly, would be a wise thing to do because they have shown nothing from the very beginning. And I do agree with Maui. This project is doomed, and this is the final, the finishing nail in the coffin of Falcons.
I think you're both whiling. Here's the thing. Maui less so in the sense that at least he made it about a financial come up. Because, by the way, yes, if you turn off the money tap in Falcons and they're just, forget even just all the money goes. If they even just became like a normal sized team, like a mouse level team, a lot of the appeal of Falcons, and also, by the way, in my opinion, a lot of what allows the core to get away with all these failures would disappear overnight. Like, first of all, half these people like Morrissey would just leave tomorrow, mate, if they didn't have a giant salary. They'd get sick of coming second and people failing them. Like, they'd just go to a team where you could already win. And then similarly, I imagine there's not going to be many people join the team if you don't have the outrageous salary. It's the main thing that's the appeal for people to join. So Maui's angle is not terrible in that sense. But I'll even give a counter to that, which is that's also why you could argue this exact lineup right now of Falcons has to succeed. Because in my opinion, Maui, if they blow this year and they don't win anything, then yeah, actually that is where you just go shut the whole project down. But if they are winning, then maybe the logic becomes, well, for now we're winning those, so that is accomplishing our sports rushing angle. Maybe that'll give them the answer. So I think actually, if anything, puts more pressure on the karrigan lineup. I think kassad is just completely on one on this episode. Here's why. Because, bro, didn't they themselves say they had 8 days practice with karrigan? I've got the stat for you here. They were in the final of PGL Astana in Kazakhstan on the 17th of May. Bro, the event in China, in Shanghai, began on the 20th. You have to physically move around the world. It's not Game of Thrones Season 8. You don't just teleport there and then play the next scene. That means between the two events, there was 0 practice time, mate. I'd be shocked if they even played one scrim. That's you go to the party, next day you travel, you get there for media day, you just play the tournament. So the reason why it's whack is this, kassad. It's very different if someone plays their first 2 tournaments, but it's with, say, an entire off-season where you signed the player and you had 3 weeks boot camp. That's one thing. You can judge people like that. They're 2 events in. The first event, by the way, they lost to 9Z2. Okay, that's true. But aside from that, they looked really good in the tournament. And then they eventually just lost to Spirit that looks really awesome. This one, I'll give you this one. I do think the final is unacceptable. Even though, yes, they won the first match and maybe they could have won the second match. So it's not like they got destroyed. But true, it is embarrassing to lose 3-1 to Legacy. I don't think, for spoiler, I don't have Legacy making my major playoffs. I don't think they'll be winning the major. That's not even a consideration would be. That is a concern. But even so, like I say, you are still working on, it's still really early days within Falcons. Here's why I think it's a wild take from you, kassad. It's not that you're wrong about anything you say, but the way you framed it, I think is crazy. I'd go the other way. When you said that about the map pool, yeah, I'm with you. They don't have a really strong map. By the way, Falcons with Kickstart had no fucking map pool. They were with him for a year and a half. Bro, he had forever to make the map pool work. And yeah, even had the same problem you're saying, but worse. I always used to say the biggest problem Falcons had was they never had one map they were amazing on. That was always the issue. They were always decent on 4 maps or something, or 4.5, you know what I mean? And so I always thought their problem if they play in a series is almost every other contender has their home map they're going to win, and then they try and beat you on your map. Falcons could lose their own map, mate. So I think actually, considering it's early doors for karrigan, I think he has a half-decent map pool already. He's already made it work in a bunch of series. He's already had 8 days practice and stuff. And then also, look at some of the changes of the players, bro. Kiyosuke under karrigan is just a completely different player, mate. And that's not like Kiyosuke did that himself. They're using him in a different way. He's in with, and then also, I'll even throw this out there. I even think actually some of the more problematic, not NiKo obviously. I actually think even Tessus looks more useful in this squad than he did before, mate. It looked like before they told him he had his lurky spots, and then they just left him to it. It didn't even look like they gave him any help. Now he actually at least plays off karrigan. If you ever see it, looks like he trades karrigan half the time on T side. I think that to me, I wouldn't say this right now is the team that wins the major, but the difference is when you're saying they go and now they have their practice, yeah, a week or so of practice could do a lot for this team. That could level them up. Then they could be a dark horse and win the major. We'll see. This one will be decided by the major. If they do nothing at the major, then you're going to look right. If they do awesome at the major, that's going to look like you were too hasty.
Duncan, you seem to yeah, that's fine. I get it. But like you're saying, like they had 7 days
or whatever it was.
Yeah, 7, 8, whatever, 3. It doesn't really matter, right? The point is like nobody made them make that change.
Yeah, of course.
It's not me or
sure.
It's like saying, you know, you put your balls in a fucking pool of with piranhas, and then you complain you got your balls eaten by those piranhas. Like you fucking did it. Like, you know, just
true. Okay.
You did it. Like I didn't make you.
Sure.
The thing is, like, you have all these dangerous teams right now, the real contenders for the major, with already established, you know, map pools and everything that goes with with the actual in-game stuff. And then you have Falcons. Right now, if this was like this happened after the break, after they failed to win the major, and they're like, okay, karrigan, bro, let's do the next season together. Let's go into a bootcamp. We'll do the break shorter than the rest of the teams. Let's go grind it out. Let's fucking see how can you use Kyosuke, how can you, like, you know, activate NiKo again, whatever. And then I will buy it. I would buy it in the first event, maybe a struggle. But like you putting yourself and making this decision 1 month before the major, and then, like, you know, looking for a justification. We only had 7 days.
All right, let me ask you this.
I ain't gonna buy that.
Because, by the way, I'm with you on all that. It's true that you didn't have to do it this way. But here's the one thing I think's weird. You almost implied it there. You implied that they could have done these same results, like with Kicksan as the Agile. Bro, they made one final with Kicksan, mate. It was that bullshit one at the beginning of the year where they played loosey-goosey because they had fucking nucleons. Like, where were all the other finals with Kicksan then? Mate, this is so whacked. Everyone did this at IM Rio when they finally beat them in the placement game in the group. You all went, see? Kicksan should say, how did that tournament end up? The finals were good, were they? They weren't even fucking in the finals, mate. They did nothing in the playoffs. So what I don't get is this. I still don't think this move invalidates the... Like, look, I feel bad for Kicksan on a personal level. I actually don't think, unfortunately, as an IGL, he was, like, uncuttable. He just wasn't. In fact, if anything, I think that's... Whether Falcons win the major or not, mate, I think actually the karrigan move will end up looking better. But that's my take.
But let me ask you this, just as before we go into the next take. Do you think with Kicksan, these last 2 events, like Astana and this Asian Championship, which is a fairly weak event...
Go on. I don't think they would have won either event, no.
You don't think they would win this?
They would have won CAC. I think they would have won CAC.
They wouldn't. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
They would have won CAC.
Would they make it to the final?
I'll tell you why they wouldn't have. I'll tell you why they wouldn't have. Mate, there are events with fields just as shit as this they didn't win.
Nah.
There are, easily.
Okay, I'll give you the final against Spirit because Spirit was too strong. But against Legacy, I think they would have that in the bag easily. 3-1, 3-0 probably.
This Falcons, but with Kicksan, would have lost to fucking Mouse in the semi, bro.
Maybe. But also, like, I
think you're all doing that thing where, because you feel bad for Kicksan, you're remembering the best moments of Falcons.
Kicksan.
Bro, do you not remember? This guy used to just sit there while they choked every game that ever got to 10 rounds for Falcons. They choked the tits off in the playoffs, bro. This team was terrible at closing out. They were terrible at closing out games,
and the fact that karrigan dropped average 7.5 frags on that final, and NiKo dropped 10.5 frags per fucking map. Like that's beside the map pool and everything else. How many practice days you need NiKo, the best player of all time, to drop more than 10 frags per map? His girlfriend was again there on the event.
I think you're tracking
The Louis V bag was there.
I don't think Falcons.
You know what we need? What we need to invent, by the way, is a scale, Maui. And basically, when Kassad stalks these players at the events, because apparently he's watching all the media, all the Instagram, when he's watching it, we need a scale. It's out of 5 Louis Vuitton bags. How much is Falcons out of control? If you bring your girlfriend, that's 1 bag. If you have a Louis Vuitton bag, that's a 2nd bag. If your mouse is any colour that isn't a masculine colour, that's a 3rd bag. And eventually, if you max out, if you hit 5 bags, you should be fired on the spot as the coach.
Instantly.
If you hit 5 bags. This was like a 3-bag event, you know, but it wasn't full 5s. It's okay for now.
I don't.
By the way, I also do agree on the karrigan one. The karrigan also can't frag like 0 frags in a game and win the game. Like, whenever I say like he can be a low fragging IGL, I mean this. Here's the obvious angle if you're karrigan. Mate, just keep the numbers around Huxley levels and you can win the tournament. That's it. You just the problem is you can't have the worst stats ever, you know.
Even Hooksy never won he never in his time with G2 in the events that they won had beneath a .90.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay, we clown on Hooksy a lot because his floor is exceedingly low. Those are the tournaments predictably that G2 lost. But when he actually had a .9, which still by any metric for a professional player is bad, but it's still feasible. You could still have teammates carry you well enough.
Hooks' G2 won events. 3 other players played fucking out of their minds. You know, NiKo, JKS, and Hunter played.
And also, I'll just say it: NiKo was better than with G2. NiKo was better at that time period than he is now.
Of course, and by a large margin. Yeah.
But the difference is,
NiKo's he's so much more of a liability now.
Yeah, but Monasty's better now, so it's all good. Listen, it's all good. You guys, you give little faith. Don't worry about it. It's all good. It'll all turn out. Daddy's coming home. Karrigan's bringing the major. It's all good. Now, Maui, if people want to listen to the rest of this episode, what would you have to tell them?
All right, we're going to be talking about our favorite sponsor, one of our favorites, buyraycon.com/hot take open. It's how you can listen to this show along with a bunch of other great Last Free Nation programming that we have across various esports. So we're going to be talking today, obviously, about the Essential Open earbuds, because these are great when you're going outside, going on a walk, especially if you're in a busy area, or if you just want to enjoy the sounds of nature around you. Okay, I go on about 2 hikes a week. I'm going to actually be following in the footsteps this week of ropz, Flamesy, and ZywOo. I'm going to Yosemite in a few days, so I'm going to be rocking the everyday open earbuds so I can hear the waterfalls, but I can also listen to Thorin and Kassad yell at each other. What better way to enjoy the outdoors than with the Essential Open earbuds by Raycon? So you can get yours, use our code, get 15% off. They do have a money-back guarantee. They have over 3 million customers, and you can find them at buyraycon.com/hot take open.
Right, I have
Yosemite.
It's a national park in America.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay, I have a hot take. I have a hot take for you boys. And this one, I actually think is really hot. It's just maybe to idiots it won't be. So people are doing this thing where everyone now, the thing people keep repeating every time Vitality wins a tournament is they go, ropz is the greatest rifler ever. Why do people say NiKo? Ropz is, right? Now, I'm not going to do that debate because sadly I learned a long time ago, GOAT debates are really, really boring because all people do is just count trophies and it's a fucking team game. So it's just shit. Even in basketball, by the way, no fucker ever explains like the system that you played in or the meta of the area. They just talk about who has the most rings, basically, and they look at things like winning percentage. So to me, get out of that for a second. But I do think when people say GOAT, part of them does mean, even though they're not arguing this way, they also mean the best. Like, when we said NiKo was the greatest rifler ever, we did the whole reason that was a really evocative statement, since he never won the major, is we're basically telling NiKo, even though you didn't win the major, you're better than some players who did win the major. That's why it was kind of like a cool comment. But if we're going to do greatest based on rings and all the rest of it, yeah, obviously ropz gets to beat NiKo, doesn't he? He's got loads of majors, he's got loads of Grand Slams, he's got a billion fucking trophy. So what I'm going to do is my hot take instead is this. The reason why I don't think it's even that interesting a statement like ropz is the rifler now is because I do think people really mean the best rifler ever. And I'm sorry, if we're talking about the best, as in at the game, how good were you at your peak, at your longest? Bro, fuck ropz being the best. He's not even top 3. I don't even know if he's top 5 as a rifler, mate. Like, think about it. If we're talking just best, there's a load of names he got to skip there just because of the NiKo discussion. Like I say, I think people are making the mistake of thinking that the NiKo discussion was like he had everything and that's why he was number 1. No. What we basically were saying to NiKo, I'll rephrase it as this way. We're saying, listen, NiKo, I know Cold Zero won those majors and won those MVPs, but you were better for longer and at your peak, if we ignore the major, you were maybe a better player. That's what we're usually saying, I think. So if we're going off best, not greatest, best, bro, I could go a lot of names before I get to ropz. Like, by the way, NiKo can be up there. I think his level was extremely good at his peak. But how about let's throw in people like Get Right, Cold Zero. These names get right. By the way, I've got a couple that are getting skipped completely in this discussion. What, did fucking Snacks and Flusher just not play CS or something? What were they doing the whole time? All they were doing was rifling. Snacks was a really good player for many years. So what I think is weird is this. I could maybe say, if I think of peak ropz, I think actually right now can be pretty good in finals. I think there was maybe that year he got third on HL. What was it, 2023? I think that year he was fucking insane as well. He carried Fares a bunch there. I would say that player, he could be like third or fourth on my list, but he's not number one for me. Like, I think, because the difference is, some of the names I just listed there, mate, Get Right and Cold Zero were the best player in the world. Never mind at a rifle. Like, these guys are monsters. Like, and if anything, if you're going to use things like, yeah, but ropz is dope in playoffs and finals, let me introduce you to Cold Zero, mate. This guy, there was a couple of years where he never fucking put a foot wrong in a playoff. It was unbelievable. Like, even some of the events SK didn't win, by the way. If people don't know, I've often said the reason why it never made sense to say Thorin hates Brazilians is I've given Cold Zero MVPs for events they lost in the finals, but he was just dope. Like, if everyone remembers the famous Auckland, where like Forrest got to be the MVP, I think it was 2016, right? Mate, Cold Zero dropped like a 40 bomb on his ass and just didn't win the match. Like, that's what it was like back then. So I think the whole ropz thing, this is where, one, I need people to know the greatest means trophies, not best. Because as far as best rifler, I think people are going too far. If anything, I actually think what ropz has done now is very smart for his career, because he's understood I'm not the person who should be the main star player of the team. That's the genius move ropz made. So in a way, I think even ropz agrees with me. Like, if you have Cold Zero and Get Right, mate, you don't go anywhere. You sit there and go, I'm the man. Bring people to me and I'll win when you build the team around me. So what do you think, boys? Do you have a different take? Do you have ropz at the top of your list? Best, not GOAT. Best, not GOAT. That's the topic. Where we're going.
I have such an easy answer. I mean, I think Donk is just the best rifler we've ever seen. So I think that clearly clears him. If I want to speak about peak Get Right, because I did go back and watch a lot of those games and tournaments, that guy was the most untouchable human ever. I mean, it just felt like he could never, ever... I mean, it was basically like ropz on crack, because he would be able to pull off those lurks with the timing and precision that ropz did in the context of the round, in the macro side. But he also just would spray transfer like 2 or 3 people whereas ropz sometimes I feel like even if he gets a great lurk, picks his shot, then might have to sort of just stay alive, jostle for position a little bit and maybe just kind of be annoying. Get Right would flank, and then he would just get like a 3-man spray down. It was just like the way he caught people was legitimately like watching a superhero in a movie. It was like it's something that we probably can't even begin. Like, we can't even hope to see anything like that again, just because people have leveled up.
Yeah.
But I could also say something similarly about Cold Zero, because whereas ropz and Get Right both get to choose the fight on their own terms, they oftentimes get to, if a round goes so badly, then they just kind of sit the round out and preserve their stats. Cold is still trying to trade frag a lot of the time. He's viciously baiting, but he is trying to trade frag a lot of the time. And oftentimes he's in that position where he's sat on the bomb site, has to kill 2 people who are trying to retake against him, but he just wins those clutches at such an alarming rate. So I would take both of them in terms of best riflers ahead of him. Like I said, Donk already would be higher than him. I don't really think the list is actually that long, though. I'm not gonna sit here and act like there's a ton more people than him, but I would easily before I take ropz, I would take Donk, I would take Cold, and I probably would take Get Right, but I think because the era was so different at that point. At least Cold Zero played against teams that knew how to throw really good execs and knew what spacing and trading were. It was different. It's a different game. It's not as pretty as it is today or as clean, but it still was impressive.
I mean, did we forget about Olaf?
Yeah, okay, you only had a year or two, but yeah, absolutely. You can put it in the list as well, yeah.
I mean, but the thing is, like, when we go back to Get Rights and Snacks and Pasha and, like, all these, like, players from the old-time Kenny, but he's an opera, obviously, but Guardian, I don't know. But the thing is, like, for me, it's like, those clips from, like, 60s with football, like, when Di Stefano's playing for Real Madrid and that... He's dribbling like my grandmother would dribble, and it's like then people are going crazy. But in today's football, that's like Paralympics in a sense. It's just not good at all. And it's hard to compare those players with like these players right now when you have Donk, and you compare Donk to, let's say, Fur.
Okay.
Like, Donk is like 75 times better than him, and Fur was a monster in his own time. Like, he was a guy that you don't want to run into to serve, and he was on. And then you have Donk with like so much better. When it comes to lurk and like closer roles, like lurker back in the day, now he shifted to this closer role. Obviously, you have to compare Getright and ropz. Getright was unbelievable in his own time, but what was that time like? Who did he compete with? What was the level of Counter-Strike back then against the level now? For me, ropz is much better than Getright because he's much more improved in every sense of the game. You know, Getright was using auto sniper, if you remember, on B on Inferno, right? He never used a secondary op, as far as I remember, but ropz does. So that's an aspect of the game that he leveled up. Obviously, clutches are pretty much the same. Timings are, you know, for me, better timings are on ropz. He knows, even though Getright had an amazing game sense in that era, but the eras are different. I think you explained it nicely. It's hard to have a debate of GOAT against the best, against the most accomplished. It's such a, you know, topic that has so many, you know, different levels to think about, like the trophies, the this and that, and like non-GOAT rifles. Who can compare it? I think you said the right names. You said Getright. For me, even though I said my argument about the past, but still, we have to put Getright there because he's the pioneer of the game.
Yeah.
He's the one who made God knows how many kids to play.
Sure.
And everybody wanted to be fucking Getright.
Yeah.
Back even 1.6 days when he was playing with Forest. And then you have Olaf, you have Cold, who was in his time, those 2 years when he was the best player, 2015 and 16, right? When he was the best player on the planet, he was unkillable. Everywhere you beat him, you're dead because he baits viciously, like Maui said, and he gets the job done. Always, those 2 years. That's why they won all these trophies, the 2 majors, the whatever, right? It was Luminosity SK. Past that, donk, but donk is like what, 2-3 years now in CS.
Like, put it this way, I'll tell you another argument I could have said. So when Getright won in his team, he was the number 1 player of the year for HLTV. When Cold Zero won on his team, he was the number 1 player of the year for HLTV. When ropz won all these trophies last year, because Zebu played with him, mate. Like, by the way, even ropz would tell you that. Like, he wouldn't tell you it was all me. He would tell you, like, I'm on the best fucking team ever. Sure. Now, look, he's really, really good. He's a fucking amazing rifler. But as you also pointed out, he's not even the best rifler now, mate. Like, Donk's better than him right now. In fact, the real joke of that whole discussion is, you know what? I'm wrong. If you are a ropz fan, I'm a ropz fan too, but I'm just not a nutter. Get all your comments in now, because by the end of even this year, that take dies a death where Donk just automatically takes that top spot forever from the end of this year onwards. Because you know that whole thing of like, but without the longevity, 3 full years at the top is enough longevity completely, Bears. So this whole discussion, by the way, NiKo too, enjoy your last year, mate, because after this it's Donk all the way from here on out. Like, if he puts like 5-6 years on the board, he's just going to be probably the GOAT player, but rifle it easily, mate. That's easy.
And the people who would question longevity of donk are the same people who gave Zaivu the best player of all time against Simple. When Zaivu was like 2-3 years in. Sure. Like, if you were back then saying that Zaivu is this and that, now you have to say donk is...
No, I think that's a very fair comment, yes.
You know, so...
I will say, the reason why you're right, Kassad, is because obviously the main people saying you can't count Donkey are Zebu fans, so they get to win. But you are right, none of them in like 2022 were like, whoa, hold on, Zebu's only played a couple of years now, mate, we have to wait. Like, they were all there in 2019, they were all in like, he's better already, he's already going to be the GOAT. Like, I know, you're right, that's true.
That's the same thing.
It is true. I agree.
But that's just people in our community, I guess.
Okay, Kassad, what is your take?
Well... You know, I was gonna go with something different because, like the Falcons for low hanging fruit and all these things, I was gonna turn to liquid. You know,
it's that I was gonna. But us discussing it's just got your Falcons hate juice going, and now you're gonna fucking.
The thing is, like when Maui said, like he's going to the Yellowstone whatever thing, and I was
Yosemite Park.
Yosemite. Yellowstone's in Wyoming.
Yes.
the things that are supposed to blow up, you know, and then
volcanoes, right? Yes.
Yeah. That was the segue. But the thing is, liquid. It's just a simple hot take. Just disband the whole team. Just take the.
Why is he doing this at all?
Turn off the CS division. Like there is no more. There is no more reason for keeping this division in your organization at all. Simply, there is not a single benefit right now that they can. None of these players is marketable anymore. They're all noobs or half noobs in the sense of in-game. If you look at their lineup right now, let's open the lineup. They are 40th in the Valve ranking. 40th. They are behind, teams like in front of teams like Jihad Zhao and behind teams like Nemesis and Focus and Amiga, right?
Okay.
If you look at their lineup, there is not a single player that deserves a spot on their team right now at all. Not a single one.
Okay.
If I was listening, I'll give you the example of how I feel about this team right now.
Okay, go ahead. Tell us how you feel. Don't hold anything back.
If I was a coach of this team right now, and somebody put me in charge of this team right now, and I go and talk to the organizers, first thing I would say, listen, guys, I'm gonna make some changes in the team, and I need your,
Yeah, sounds totally reasonable. What changes do you want to make?
Yeah. But before you tell me, before I tell you the changes, you need to tell me which player would you like as an organization to keep?
Yeah.
The first name they say, that's the first guy I'm getting kicked. The first name they say.
Why is he as a coach playing mind games? And he goes, tell you what, guys, I'm being quite reasonable. I'd like to transition to a different area of Liquid. So is there anyone you'd really like me to keep? This is, by the way, if anyone knows the references, straight fire. In season 1 of The Wire, there's the whole thing where McNulty is that cop hates him who's his boss. And then famously, they tell McNulty, you don't ever say where you don't want to go because he'll make you go there. And that's why he gets sent to the port of it. Kassad's doing that shit. So if you actually say, obviously, Maui, we'd obviously like to keep Elite. He's a legendary player. Then fucking Kassad's he's got first. It's but I just said I want to keep him. No, he's got first. He's out. Anyone else you like? Okay, where are we going with this? We're cutting him first.
What this organization has proven to me and to everyone else, and sadly to all of their fans, which was a big army of them, especially in America, that they cannot make a right decision to save their lives.
Right. Okay, that's fair.
They have Coach Flashy. The guy was under Blade, the good guy. I know him for a long time, but he's a rookie coach. You tried the rookie coach with Moses. Didn't fucking work.
Yep.
And you went there again. Neff, the guy checked out probably a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. He's not there. That's just a body. Physical presence is there. Mentally, he checked out a long time ago. Every first of the month, he gets a salary. He smiles probably once
He's in the
a month.
place.
That's it. Elish, 0.98 T-side rating in the last 6 months.
Okay.
The best T-side player in the last year, one of the best, when he was in phase and shit. I don't know what happened to this guy. I'm probably an ego thing, still has a problem with the personality stuff. Okay. I don't know the details, but I assume. Okay. Malps, do you remember that movie Tom Cruise was in Edge of Tomorrow?
Yeah.
The guy, he gets dropped into the fucking, the aliens invasion. That's Malps. That's Malps in this He just dropped into the fucking hell. Right? He tries to fit in, nothing really, Shui, we all know now that, we see why he got kicked from Mouse, because there is nothing there anymore as an IGL, and Ultimate is just a side character in this team. So there is not a single piece of this team that has any value at all. The last 16 months, 18 months, 3 seasons, Duncan, Maui, last 3 seasons, the best placing was Asian Championship 2025, and they were 3rd. Where is the value? They were not supposed to be on this major. The only reason they qualified was because Sangal and Smuya beat Passion UA in that final of that event. That's the only reason. On top of that, I watched their games in Atlanta and in Rio. They picked, for one event, they picked the Dust 2 twice, won 8 rounds total on their pick. The second event, they picked Ancient twice, won 7 rounds total on their pick. What are you doing? What's going on? Is anybody present in that practice room? Steve, what are you doing, mate? That Victor guy who is running the org, are you fucking blind? You are, bleeding money out of your company. You are losing your army of fans every single day more and more by these decisions. Just cut your losses. Remove the team, wait for a better opportunity, come back to Counter-Strike and dominate North America. No reason to keep any of these people. Make some money out of Elish, maybe Malbs. Rest of you can go for free, go whatever the fuck you want, just away from Liquid, and just disband, wait for to buy a whole team or a core or something that will put you in a position to be the very loved and respected organization that has been in the competitive scene for more than 20 years. This is embarrassing.
I mean, I can't disagree with the fact that they've been floundering. I didn't even really know that Liquid played in the CAC event because I just was flying back and everything. I just was, but then I see the result there, and it's also just disastrous. I mean, it's really. I think the funny thing about this take is that actually the best thing that this roster could probably do is blow it up in some way. It's actually hard. It's very difficult for me to point to one person and say they're the initial point of failure on any sort of flaw in this team. It just feels like it's 5 guys that just aren't good enough. And maybe these 5, like some of them could actually be in different positions, but I'd say one of the most concerning aspects of this is that Elige is no longer, for this team at least, maybe he could be it for another team, he's no longer the guy. He's not a worthwhile number 1 option. And if you don't really have a number 1 option aggressive rifler anymore, you're in a really bad position. I also think that when it comes to the whole flashy conversation, it's just tough because he worked under Blade, but Blade I feel like the thing about Blade is he's very exacting and he wants things to be run in a certain way. And I find that I think I see little bits of that when I watch this Liquid, that it's kind of similar, reminiscent of Na'Vi in the past, how they want to construct some of the rounds. But I don't think that there's a one-size-fits-all style for any team, and recognizing the limitations of your players is also as necessary as knowing what a really, really great system looks like. So catering to your personnel is important, and I'm not really sure if he's doing that. I'm not sure how much he's meeting on the middle of, like, maybe this team should just be running full-blown set pieces every round. They maybe shouldn't be going through layered, thoughtful defaults that then lead to some kind of mid-round play or mid-round call when they don't really have the guys to do that. Just make things a little bit simpler for everybody, because that's kind of when Malbs was the best also. He was definitely in G2. One of the things that I'll give credit to Snacks for is that I think he properly realized the best way to utilize Malbs is by just sending him as a hard first in entry on a set piece play. Don't give him any agency in a round. Just send him on a warpath, and hopefully he takes 1 or 2 down with him as he's on it. There's so many. I think the ultimate conversation is his own, and that's the problem. I can go through every single player, every single staff member of this team, and I can point to some big flaw in them, and that's just simply not good enough to be a top 5 team or to actually aspire to the heights that an organization like Liquid should be aspiring towards. I just think that this team also, when Twist left and kind of blew it up, I think now Joka Steve has to take the reins. But the problem is that I don't think he's really ever done that in his career. I think that he's kind of lived this life as a GM where he's always attached himself to a coach, to a player, so that they're the one that is the primary decision maker. He just signs off on their decisions. So now that finally it has truly blown up in his face that Twist sent him down with Ultimate and Skulls, now he's just left trying to actually do the job that so many other GMs have actually already succeeded at. So he's just playing a game of catch up himself.
My problem with this is, look, obviously one area that your hot take is right and isn't even a hot take is they need to do something drastic within Liquid. Obviously what makes yours a hot take is you want to fire literally everyone. You want to fire the coach and all 5 players, which is like, first of all, that's just so unrealistic ever that anyone would do that. As you say, like the pieces in this team, you just don't sell them all anyway. By the way, if you do like a proper fire sale, like every player is available, then even people who, by the way, you could get value for, the obvious one is being like Elige, for example. Oh, you'd be able to sell him, but you'd sell him for a tiny amount because everyone knows you're selling everyone. You almost have to like pretend you're keeping these players to sell them. I mean, I'll give you an example of where it fails if you're Liquid. Unless, as you say, you're shutting the whole division down, which is done with Counter-Strike. If you're going to make a new Counter-Strike team, I'll tell you immediately why you don't sell Elige. Because let's say you release Elige tomorrow, then he probably does go, unironically, to someone like Passion UA. And as soon as he joins that team, unless your team's really good, you're probably now losing to fucking Elige in the next qualifiers for the major and all that shit, So unfortunately, I imagine most of them will keep certain players. I know what you mean, though. If I go pretty sweet, it's the only team that on paper has good names, where I'm quite similar. I wouldn't fire everyone, but I would strip most of the team out. Like, pretty sweet, I think the only two I would probably keep are Elige and Malbs, actually, at the moment. They're the only two. First of all, Malbs hasn't been there very long. Also, it looks like he does do his job. Elige, the main thing for Elige is this. I actually think the person that Elige reflects the worst on is fucking Shu here, mate. Because think about what I used to say when he was in FaZe. Mate, everyone thought there was a disconnect in FaZe with Elige and karrigan. But I'll tell you what, Elige used to still frag, mate. He looked pretty good on T-side. Like, his game was still good. What, did he really just in the space of like a few months suddenly become half as good a player? It seems unlikely. Seems like in the system, either Shuey doesn't already use him, or even worse, maybe they just let Elige do whatever he wants and then he's ruined his own game. So I will say the one aspect to remove Elige is you'd have to go and do a deep dive. Now, Liquid are the obvious people who could do this, by the way. What you really need to do a deep dive on is the eternal question about Elige, which is he somehow, like, I won't even say it's like toxic, because I think that's used in the wrong way. Like, they use it wrong for Simple now, by the way. I still haven't seen Simple ever do a clip that's toxic, like I'm told. You know this clip where he's arguing with Senzu? We have no fucking clue what they're saying. For all we know, they're like just discussing something mild in the game, but it's treated as if like Simple was telling him, I'll kill you, your whole family, and you're a worthless piece of shit. Like, it wasn't. We have no idea what they said. But here's my point. When people say about Elige being difficult, the real issue is this. Is it the case that, because I've never taken that he was toxic. What I took kassad was that he was more in the famous reputation that Shoxy had in the French teams, which is, remember, the nickname for Shoxy was he was the princess. It's the idea that you have to do everything his way, otherwise it doesn't work. Now, the reason why Shoxy used to get away with that, like Elige, is they were really insanely good at the game. So he used to go, you know what, if the real choice isn't, can Shoxy be reasonable, is do I keep Shoxy or do I move on from him? Most times you go, for now, while he's awesome, I'll stick with it, and then when it goes badly, we'll move on. That's the real question they need to solve in Liquid, is Elige somehow warping this team to do what he wants? If that's true, by the way, that's a valid reason to cut him tomorrow. If it's not true and actually he could frag better, that's the piece I would keep. I don't hate the Malbs one either. Like I said, I just think at this point, if you're going to be an NA team, how many more better players are there? I actually do think the rest can all get kicked, though. Like, at this point in time, I'm also with you on the coach, by the way. I actually think that was one of the worst coaching pickups in many years in this sense. It was the wrong org to do it in. I think that move is fine if you're one of those orgs where people either have more of a chill expectation or you're all growing as a team. Like, I'll give you an example. This is a scoffed one because I'm thinking it up on the spot. But if, for example, Flashy was the coach of Foot, mate, Foot doesn't have to win a single tournament. They just have to like show some improvement, get ready in tier 1, do some basics, win the odd playoff match. It's also a team, by the way, you don't need massive amount of tactics for too. So that's that sort of a team he could show. His problem basically is he did do what people do in football and then in the NBA, which is they go from, I'm an assistant for an amazing coach, to let me have a contender where I'm supposed to win the league now. Like, fuck, bro, that is a crazy, you know that metaphor of being dropped in the deep end of the pool? That is a crazy drop. That's like you're in a pool where you just die if you don't make it, mate. Never mind, like, you tread in to keep your head above. You just, in this analogy, Flashy died, mate. He never made it. Like, put it this way, I'll tell you the obvious question. I've done it for many players, but I'll do it right now. If tomorrow they did what you said, kassad, and they said everyone's fired, including the coach, who does anyone really think rushes to pick Flashy up as their coach? No one. No one. Bro, I don't even think, I'm not even joking, I think he would have to literally go down to the sort of Gamer Legion level team. And even then, actually recently, Gamer Legion is pretty good. I don't think he'd even go on that level team, mate. I think he'd be stuck going to some, like, Eastern European team, or he'd find some... The joke is he'd be on GG How or something, mate. You know what I mean? That's where his career would have to go. So I do think that's an obvious angle. The coach should 100% be changed. I also think, even though I gave him a long time, I'm with you on the shoe here one too, mate. My problem with this is I have the same philosophy when it comes to coaches in football. I always say this, even about people like Mourinho that I love. If you really do work on a team and it doesn't work, you could still be an awesome at your job, but you're on the wrong team. So maybe Shuey still is decent, but this isn't the team, mate. He's had too many different players. I mean, remember, I do think the Elige twist swap killed Shuey forever for me. Because before, maybe there was a world record twists that was what the twist isn't even here anymore, mate. You've still got all the same problems. And I'm with you. Actually, the team isn't just bad, they're irrelevant now, mate. Like, they go to lands, and when I do my betting, I have a really hard time ever being able to get them to win a game, bro. Like, essentially, I have to just get them in a game where, like, they should be able to play, but their odds are absurd, like, you're like 2.9 odds or something. Other than that, I can never, ever in good conscience say, yes, this team will win. In fact, I'll even tie it to the Falcons thing. This is also another example where I think this team is doomed. This is another team where they have never, ever had even one world-class map. Not even one. Not even one. They're just like average at a bunch of maps. That's it as well. So if you look at all the metrics of a great team, it is fucking shit. But as usual, you have made it extra hot. I don't know that I'd fire every player in the court. I just think it's not realistic if we do that. By the way, one last thing I'll ask is this just to clarify, and then we'll do the fan question. Right? When you say shut down the division, do you actually mean like and reboot it and start over again, or do you just think they should leave CS? Do you think they just don't get CS?
No, I would never advise org to like get out of CS forever. Okay. Right? The thing is, like, if they're bleeding your money out, like if the organization is suffering in terms of fans, and by
the way, your point about fans is very, very valid. I'll give you an example of why. Even though FaZe has suffered for a year and a half, FaZe still has real fans that you see on social media that like, hey, let's get together. I think Liquid fans, bro, they're just so mentally beaten down, they just don't exist anymore, do they? None of them even care anymore, mate. I think they're all checked out, you know.
When the fans leave you, the sponsors will leave.
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
Money is going out. Like the money, they're running a business, like, and it's a performance-based business.
Yeah, of course.
It's not a friendship factor.
Agreed.
It's like we have to think about those things. If you are Steve, if you are that Victor guy, like it's fine. Like if those salaries are still like 2-3K, like, but they're paying a lot of salaries, a lot of money in salaries for those guys. For me, just I don't see the value in any single of those players. You mentioned the leash, like you would keep him, maybe, but that depends on him and his ego. I don't mind. I think that's a big deal. I don't mind the toxicity as well. If you back it up, if you show me the example on the server where you were like the first one on practice, last one out, maybe you yell on your teammates a little bit, but you are the guy on the server, right? And I can live with that, even with ego. But you know, what we say, like there's people who are saying that honesty is the
best policy,
the biggest enemy, the biggest enemy of ego.
Okay.
You know, because the ego it needs an enemy, right? It needs somebody, right? And then to blame. But if you use honesty, then your ego is not gonna go very far because you have to look inside yourself. It's like it's an all fucked up thing when it comes to a leash, and he's 28 years old. You know, it's he needs to examine himself as a player right now, what he wants to do in the next 3-4 years, because that window is gone, dude. Like you are not the guy anymore.
Right, let's do a fan take as the last take. This one's going to be fun, boys. So buckle up, because this is my favourite type of fan take, where I just think it's just absolute nonsense. So listen to this. The guy's name, he's chosen, he wants to be called Elijah. So here's his hot take. Just get ready for this. His hot take is, crowd cheating is a good incentive and a deserved reward for those teams who gained fans. People in crowds, so the few who spend money on, it's amazing, just sit back for this one. People in the crowds are the few who spend money on esports. The majority of fans will never spend any money on teams or events. Why not allow those who spend their money and time an extra impact earning by allowing them to influence results by 0.1%? Why make their experience worse by 2,500% to make the people who are watching for free happy? Crowd cheating, air quotes, mirrors home advantage in other sports in which the crowd can seriously affect the outcome of a game, i.e. stealing in baseball, free throws, kicks, etc. Why not reward teams that have been successful in cultivating a fan base of fans, actually able and willing to spend money, especially since the impact is negligible, since pro players wear noise-cancelling headphones. Plus, the proposed solution of turning off X-ray and the minimap is way too egregious and will push fans away from attending in person. Reasonable solution. The only solution that is palatable is implementing pay-per-view. Then viewers at home have balanced the economic impact, allowing for a more healthy ecosystem. Then and only then should you put restrictions on your customers. Right, there you go, gentlemen. The hot take is crowd cheating's actually a good thing, and we need more of it. Come on, boys. What do you think?
I'll say this. The take is idiotic. I mean, in an ideal world, we would have cheering that comes after plays are made, that suspense is built, and that information isn't gleaned from the noise that barely makes it through sound canceling headphones. That being said, I think crowd cheating has happened since practically the beginning of time. I think people like to pretend as if there are that many better arenas where it doesn't happen. It's happened in Cologne. It's happened in Katowice. It's happened in China. It's happened in America. It happens in Brazil. And I think people almost use it as a vehicle for their own racism, practically, to just say like, look, I told you this place should never have a major. It's like, okay, where should have a major? Like I've literally heard crowd cheating at almost every arena event I've ever worked at ever, like including Cologne and all the legendary ones people talk about, even ones with supposedly neutral crowds, because the thing is that neutral crowds end up being bigger fans of the big teams like G2 or Falcons now or FaZe, like these teams have all benefited over time because of these things. Like even imagine like, I think it was in 2014 when Olaf used to wiggle his crosshair, and you would hear in like the big arenas in Poland or in Germany, like people were helping him. People were helping him in those times. Like that's not. Not every tournament was in Sweden, like he was doing it everywhere. Kicksan did it in Belgrade. In fact, actually, Kicksan did it last year at Fisher Belgrade. So I know and it worked for him there. He knew that people were going to be coming out on train. I remember he did it. So it's happened everywhere. So I just think that the whole like idea around crowd cheating being better or worse, like the best thing I've heard TOs do in the past is that they have, I know that Blast has sent out James Banks in the past to basically try to calm the crowd down on those fronts, and sometimes you'll see limited success in that way. For the Astana event, having been in the crowd, they took out X-ray, they took out the radar, and people still were able to they're not stupid, If the observer switches the camera at all, then people will kind of know. They're not going to be as blatant or even as good at it, but people get excited. People just always will get excited forever. I think the way to actually combat it more than anything about location or the crowd or telling the crowd is probably something we don't want to do, which is probably soundproofing booths even more.
Yes.
I think it kind of kills the environment.
As far as I know, by the way,
players.
You can actually make a booth. It's just, here's the difference. It's not the booths you've seen at MLG events. You can actually make a type of booth that I think is like suspended, that is purely noise cancelled, and there's no way anyone can hear. But the problem is, Maui, as far as I know, one, it's really expensive, and two, actually, unfortunately, pro players don't want that in Counter-Strike. Pro players want to be able to interact with the crowd and hear you cheer. So unfortunately, even though in theory it would solve this problem, it would solve it in a way that no one would like, in the same way as people know the reference VAR in football made it so now all the decisions are correct, but ruined the sport, basically, if you get the analogy.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not familiar with that one, but yeah. No, I just think I think that it's like every single, like all of the last, I think 3 events on Reddit, there's like a top thread that's about like crowd cheating, but it's like, is this everybody's first time watching? Like, I know that this isn't a good answer, but it's just the fact of what it is for Arena Counter-Strike to exist.
I mean, are we gonna get serious here or what? Like, we gonna talk shit? Like the first of all, that guy who made the fucking point is a fool. He's a clown. Like
that's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, he probably did too, which is a sad thing.
Fucking Elijah, what's that fucking Amish name? Go back to fucking Pennsylvania, wherever the fuck you fucking live. Shut the fuck up. The second thing, Maui, you say that has been around for a very long. I tell you why. Because the teams are pussies, the coaches are pussies, the TOs are pussies, everybody involved are pussies, because they don't want to create an extreme example out of some things to make it stop, because they're looking through these like situations. Like, I'll give you the 2016-17 situation and the recent one from 2024, and I was involved in both. We were in China playing Shanghai against NIP in the quarterfinals, and 1v1 was Gratisfaction against Forest on Mirage. It was a tight game, the round that decides the economy. Whoever wins that round is a massive advantage, probably wins the map, wins the quarterfinals. Hopefully. Gratisfaction is playing against Forest 1v1. Gratisfaction is in sandwich. Forest is coming up connector on Mirage up the stairs. The whole crowd is yelling, sandwich, 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 sandwich. And then Gratisfaction somehow kills him, and he goes like to the crowd like this. And then after that, we get blamed, and we go out to stage, and I have a bunch of fucking Chinese people telling me, get Kensa, white man, get Kensa. Yeah, that's the thing. So when that happened,
he does all the accents and everything.
I stopped the game. I stopped the game and I yelled at the I think there is somewhere on a VOD where I'm yelling at the admin like fucking I'll fucking kill you and kill him if you don't fucking stop that.
Okay.
And then they stopped. The similar thing happening against Mongols in Ulaanbaatar event when they beat us. We were bleed in the final. We played.
Sky Sports or whatever it was.
Something, right? Yeah. Or Messa.
Oh, it could be many SM regional, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. What are they saying?
And against the Mongols in the finals in the second map or third map, Ancient, there is clearly, or Mirage, you clearly see like the crowd is like. There is somebody flanking from Mirage all the way from T-spawn, and the crowd starts yelling, flank, something. I hear it. And then, the guy turns around, kills him, whatever. We lose the round. Then it was a 2v2 situation on Ancient, and I stopped the tournament. I said, listen, this can't continue. I fucking told this admin, what the fuck is this amateur shit? We are not going out on the stage until you fix this shit forever. We are not going out on the stage. I take responsibility. Whatever happens to me with my job, and after this, it's on me. But I'm not going back on the stage to play. Because this is not the way it should be played. Competitive advantage should not be gained like that. This Elijah fucking guy mentioning free throws. The guys in the basketball games are not flicking fucking players' wrists when he's shooting free throws. They are, doing the fucking thing with balloons and yelling, which is fine. And you yell, and I'm in a 1v1, yell as much as you want, but don't reveal the positions.
Yeah.
And then TOs, if you want to solve this thing, X-Ray and Radar are not going to cut it. You empty the part of the arena. Cut the match up. Pause the game. Empty the part of the arena. Take out 2,000 people out of 8. Just throw them out and see what happens next. I guarantee you nobody will fucking yell. And then if they do yell, you throw another 2,000 out. You need to make something extreme. If I'm the coach of Falcons, of this and that, and they're cheering against me, I'm stopping. Calling a tactical time. I'll kick the fucking PC out. I'll throw it to the fucking ground. And I'll take the disqualification, but there will be a tactical timeout that I will use and tell the TOs, fuck you, fuck your event, fuck your sponsors, fuck your mother, fuck your whatever. This needs to stop. Because that's the turbulent. But the thing is, this needs to stop. My players will not go back on that stage until this stuff. Extreme things needs to happen for it to be fixed. That's my point, right?
Okay.
We'll not go to violence, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
It's just me exaggerating the thing. But coaches, TOs, managers, somebody on the spot, stop it. Stop the tournament. See what the sponsors will tell you then. Because this is just shit. Somebody shake his hands and then you see if he's behind the wall or if he's defusing or he's flanking or that's nonsense to me. That shouldn't be happening in 2026. Fuck you, Elijah.
What I love is kassad. Everything kassad does is if he can't find a solution immediately, he just ramps up the stakes by 10 and then solves it with the most extreme shit ever. So if you came to kassad and you were like, oh, I'm actually having problems, my cuticles are they're a bit sore, the way the nail grows out, he'd be like, try this cream. Be like, I tried it, but still having a problem. Chainsaws your whole arm off. There you go.
Cut them off.
No problem now, is there? No problem with your nail now, is there? Fuck you and your mother. It's what the hell? I only got one arm. Listen, you came to me asking for a solution to the problem. Did I not solve your problem? So anyway, my point is this. I do low-key agree with him, though. Here's why. Because here's what bums me out about this topic. The real, actual elephant in the room on this topic, because Maui's not totally wrong. Listen, Maui works the event, so sadly, he went a little bit too far the other way. It is true that all crowds crowd cheat. Because it's just allowed in our culture at the moment, in esports gaming culture. And the TOs don't heavily punish it. They just hope you don't do it. And like you say, they do sneaky things like when you're doing it too much, they just turn off the X-ray or they turn off the minimap. But they don't even chastise the crowd, particularly as far as I know. My problem with this is, even though, yes, all crowds cheat, they don't all cheat and equal them out in the exact same way, like Kassad said. Some of them do the thing where they just go, ooh, when you're behind. Some of them just shout stuff to the left, that, some of them are ridiculous, mate. So first of all, I do think certain crowds cheat more. It's actually one of the most base things anyone ever told me. I won't tell you who it was, but back in the day in 1.6, there was once a scandal where someone cheated by looking at a screen, and I basically said to someone else, I was being the libtard in this one. I was like, well, you can't just label his whole culture like that. That's just one individual. He chose to do that. And the person was like, no, actually, certain cultures, if you look at them, I'm sorry, they are more likely to cheat, or they don't have the same rules about fairness, or they think, for example, if you can get away with it, it's okay. And sadly, actually, he was right. I was wrong on that one. You actually can see the pattern that certain people are more likely to cheat in certain regards. So, first of all, that is an issue. So that's why the location to some degree matters. I'd also say the location matters in this sense. Not all esports fans are the same. So, like, if you have an event like I Am Clone, for example, I would actually imagine the reason the crowd is so cool there is because it's in Central Europe and it's around a bunch of countries that are quite high living standard where people have disposable income. So it's more likely the person who travels to that event, in my opinion, is a person who's more likely to care about these rules. There are certain events in certain countries, I won't say, where the fan looks like it's just some kid off the street who it costs like $5 to go into the event. And so he goes in there and he's way more likely to be disruptive in the same way as he would if he was on the street corner playing football and an old guy can pass, he said something rude to him, you know. So I do think there's a certain cultural element. But here's the reason why Kassad's point isn't wrong. The reason why I can't handle this topic is because we're doing that thing where we pretend like only Counter-Strike exists. Bro, I know Kassad knows this because he's a Djokovic fan. If you've ever watched tennis, bro, they are able to make an entire stadium be silent when you serve, no matter who they're a fan of. And Kassad knows the reason why. Because if you talk when Djokovic is serving for the semi-final, two big men will throw you the fuck out of that building and put your face in a database and ban you for life. Like, that is real. And because they do it so, like, extensively and almost every single time, it is just part of tennis culture. Fans have been trained. You can train people. They have been trained, unless you want to lose your whole seat to this whole fucking game, don't shout during the serve. You can do it any other time, by the way. You can shout the second the point finishes. You can do it at the turnover. You can do it when they win. You can do it, because I agree with you, Kassad. It's not that we don't want the crowd to make noise. Like in a 1v1, if you want to shout fuck you to NiKo or Hipper, do it. The point is, don't say behind you or some shit like that. Just don't do that, because that's obviously what robs us of the awesome moment in the game, isn't it? I also think, by the way, we're the most unique esport ever to have this problem, because there's not really anything comparable to that in League of Legends. In League of Legends, there was once a year where someone tried shouting a gank out, but even then you can sort of guess that there's a gank because all your teammates on the map, you know. The problem is, it really isn't the biggest problem in Counter-Strike flanks. Flanks are the coolest moves to get off in a big pressure game, but it's the ultimate thing a fan can ruin, isn't it? Because we all know if you're an ancient in the fucking middle as the CT and you hear someone going, ooh, you're going to think, has he got behind me through the site or something? You're not going to go, oh, they're just doing that sound for no reason. It immediately makes you think in a way that the flank exploits the idea you aren't always checking your back. So I do think, sadly, it does ruin Counter-Strike. The problem, obviously, is where Kassad, as usual, has come up with a solution, but it's harder to implement is, it's like you say, your version is extreme, but you are right, Kassad. The real problem is this. You would need everyone who's part of the show, especially early on, to basically constantly communicate to fans. You'd need like someone on the stage to be like, look, guys, if anyone shouts the flank out during the round, we're going to have to remove you. You'd need the commentators to literally tell them, stop doing that after these rounds. I agree with you, by the way. You'd need the teams as well. You'd need people like NiKo to come out and go, listen, I understand you want to help me in the round, but you're actually hurting the sport by doing this. And if you do this, fans of Falcons won't be able to attend the games. You'd have to almost do it like, we'd have to start today and have a whole campaign, probably take like a year. But the thing is, I'm sorry, I just refuse to give up on this topic because I do think it ruins the matches, unfortunately. I'll also say as well, one last thing, which is just fair. Sometimes they don't always hear like the specific thing. Like most of the times when someone really shouted, go B, that was just a guy who happened to be too close to the crowd mic. That wasn't really what like ropz heard and then he made the move. True, if they do the ooh, the whole crowd, yeah, obviously every player hears that. And as Maui said, but it also was a thing back in the day. Shocks also did it a bunch of times. Flushing did it, mate. They just knew, essentially, I can find out if someone might be behind this door by wiggling my crosshair on it. And if the fan says something, like, because that implies maybe there's someone there. But the problem with that is that's not as bad as the flank one, in my opinion. That's more like everyone could use that little angle. The last point I'll make is this. I do think his framing is dog shit. Because, you know, his framing is like, it's just like home and away games. Yeah, you give it the obvious, within your own point there is the obvious argument against you. We don't have home and away games. They're all supposed to just be in a venue where in theory they're all neutral and we just except if there's a home team, that's it. Like the real problem here is, isn't that also the issue with crowd cheating? In a weird way, it would work if the crowd cheated absolutely equally and uniformly for everyone, but we know they don't. Like if Furia plays Mongols in that game that was ages ago, that fucking agent, was it Copenhagen? I can't remember. Shanghai, one of them. The point is, at that tournament, they cheat more for Fury than they do for Mongols, don't they? So Mongols wouldn't get the fucking cheat in the flank, whereas then Fury would win. So actually, as he says, in that case, by the way, you're not even doing 0.01%. That's probably 0.1% alteration to the game, or maybe more, mate. Maybe it's like 1% or something. That could be a big difference maker. So I don't know on that one. My problem with this whole topic is, like you say, Kassad, the solution probably has to be extreme is the issue. And I agree. Right now, the real problem, the real elephant in the room is we're already having a hard time getting fans to come to these events and pay to attend them and all that. So I think at the moment, people like ESL, even the biggest dogs, they're a bit scared to tell the fans, like, I'll kick you out, because it's been hard enough to get him in the door. So unfortunately, I don't really know if this will be solved. And I agree with you. I would just be harsh personally, because I want the quality of the games to be excellent, you know. And I want people to be able to get excellent flanks off, etc.
Maybe do events in smaller arenas as well.
That's also a legit one.
You don't have to have a 25,000 man arena. Like, it's fine. Yeah. Like, if the viewership is a little bit harder right now because of whatever the reason is, like, maybe you switch your, like, you know, strategy and get some smaller events, 5-6K. Like, remember in Australia, it was like pretty good, you know, even though with 5,000-6,000 people, it's a hell of an atmosphere. So there are ways around it, and you just need to, like, you know, point right people at the right direction. And you said tennis was a good, you know, example. The culture of the sport is like that, you know, and it had been trained to do that. You know, and it ties to what Maui said. The culture of our sport has been for 12 years, 30 years of cheating. And of course, people are going to come and do it because nobody's doing anything, you know, to fix it. So,
anyway, if you want to submit a take and be both abused and have Kassad speculate about where you come from, where you should fuck back off to, subscribe to the Last Free Nation Discord. There's a channel, Say Yes Hot Takes, that you can put your hot take there and say whatever name you'd like to be abused by. See you on the next episode.